I was this close to giving up on my patient. We'll call her Eleanor. She had severe dementia, and it felt like nothing I was doing could reach her. Every single day was a battle, and I was losing. She'd refuse to eat, push away any attempt at personal care, and just spend hours staring at a wall, completely gone. I was frustrated, bone tired, and felt like a total failure. My shifts ended with me feeling hollowed out, wondering if I was even a good nurse anymore. I was starting to believe that all we could do was manage her decline, that any real quality of life was gone for good. And then I remember a simple back to basic nursing idea that changed everything. It wasn't some new gadget or miracle drug. It was a philosophy I'd learned years ago and let buried under the stress and the never-ending checklists of daily tasks. The big aha moment didn't come in a flash of inspiration. It comes from pure desperation. One night after a particularly brutal shift with Eleanor, I was sitting in my car, too drained to even start the engine. I seriously thought about quitting, or at least begging for a different assignment. I felt like I was just a body in a room doing things to a person who wasn't even there anymore. What was the point? Right there, at rock bottom, a professor's voice just echoed in my head from the first year lecture. Don't just treat the chart, she used to drill into us. Treat the person. Every person, no matter what, has fundamental needs. It sent me digging through my old textbooks, and that's where I found it. Virginia Henderson's Nursing Needs Theory. Honestly, it felt so basic, I'd almost completely forgotten it existed. Henderson's whole idea is that a nurse's job is to help people do things they would do for themselves if they had the strength, will, or knowledge. Her framework wasn't about complicated procedures. It was about 14 basic human needs. Suddenly, I wasn't looking at a dementia patient. I was looking at a person whose most basic needs weren't met, and whose behavior was just a desperate attempt to tell us that. The trick, if you want to call it that, was to stop seeing Eleanor's dementia first. Instead, I started seeing her humanity through the lens of these 14 needs. Henderson's theory is beautifully simple. It covers everything that makes us human, but also leaves me with a series of questions. So let's go through the theory. And take it easy, I want to make it as simple as possible so it's easy to digest. First of all, you have the obvious physical stuff. Breathing, eating and drinking, using the bathroom, moving and sleeping. For Eleanor, mealtime was a constant struggle. We'd put a tray down and she either ignore it or push it away. But was her need really just to eat, or was it something else? Then there are needs around safety and comfort. Staying warm, keeping clean and avoiding dangers. Eleanor often falters on bathing, sometimes getting really agitated. The task on our list was keep her clean. But what was the unmet need? Was she cold? Was she terrified of the water? Scared of falling maybe? But the theory goes way deeper than just the surface. It includes our psychological needs, communicating with people and expressing our feelings, needs and fears. Eleanor was non-verbal, but what if her vacant stares and frustrated gestures weren't just symptoms? What if they were language I just hadn't learned to speak? Finally, it covers social and spiritual needs. The need to work in a way that gives you a sense of accomplishment. The need to play or have fun. The need to learn and the need to worship. A sense of accomplishment. Fun. for a woman with severe dementia? Before, I would have dismissed that as impossible. But this framework forced me to ask, what if it wasn't? What if I was the one limiting her because I already decided what she could and couldn't do? This simple checklist gave me a roadmap to look past the diagnosis and find the person again. I decided to start small. I focused on one of the most basic needs, eating and drinking. Instead of just plopping a tray in front of Eleanor, I started my shift by just sitting with her. I didn't say anything at first. I was just there. Then, thinking about the need to communicate, I spoke to her in a calm, quiet voice. I wasn't asking her to do anything, just telling her my name and that I was there with her. Next, I tackled the food itself. The standard nutritional supplements we served was as bland and boring as it gets. What if the problem wasn't just that she'd refused to eat, but that her need for enjoyable food was being ignored? I called her family, asked what did she love to eat. They told me she had a huge sweet tooth and adored the smell of cinnamon. So the next day, instead of that, bad food we were serving, I brought in a small bowl of warm applesauce with a little cinnamon sprinkled on top. The change was stunning. The second that aroma hit the air, her head turned. Her eyes, usually so empty, focused right on the bowl. I held out the spoon and slowly she opened her mouth. She ate the whole thing. It wasn't about calories. It was about meeting a need for simple pleasures, for comfort, for a flicker of a happy memory. We used that same logic for bathing. Instead of a cold, sterile shower, we tried a warm sponge bath in her cozy room. We put on soft music from her younger days. We used a lavender-scented soap after her family's mentioned she used to love her garden. Besides that, lavender has a calming effect on the mind. Just a little bit, but everything helps. And just like that, the resistance vanished. The agitation was replaced by this quiet calm. So the challenging behavior was never the actual problem. The problem was that we failed to see it was communicating fear and discomfort. We weren't just cleaning her. We were meeting her needs to feel safe. Henderson's theory gave me the checklist of needs to look into. But I quickly realized it was missing the how. How are we supposed to meet these needs for someone who can't tell you what they want? That's when I laid in the second piece of this puzzle. The philosophy of person-centered care, pioneered by a man named Tom Kitwood. Kitwood argued that every single one of us has a personhood, our unique identity, history, and tastes that stays with us even when dementia takes a hold. He believed that a lot of what we call dementia symptoms are really just normal human reaction to an environment that strips that personhood away. His entire approach is about building care around the individual's life story, their values, and their personality. This was the missing link. Henderson gave me a map of universal human needs, and Kitwood gave me the personal atlas for Eleanor. It meant I had to become a detective of her life. I spent hours talking to her family, not just about her medical chart, but about her. What was she like? What made her belly laugh? What was she most proud of in her life? What was her hobbies? They told me she was a retired school teacher who loved classical music and had a fierce sense of purpose. She was the organizer, the one who always had a project going. This information was pure gold. It was the key to unlocking her social and psychological needs. That need to work in a way that there is a sense of accomplishment wasn't a lost cause. It was just a new problem for me to solve. Armed with this deep understanding, my entire way of caring for Eleanor changed. We stopped trying to force her into a rigid hospital schedule and started bending our routines to fit her. Her new work became folding laundry. We'd give her a small basket of warm, clean towels, and she would sit for an hour, carefully, meticulously folding them. Her hands, which used to be so restless and agitated, were now calm and focused on purposeful task. She wasn't just folding towels. She was satisfying a deep needed purpose. We made a life storyboard for her room with pictures from her teaching days, her wedding, her kids. So instead of staring at a blank wall, she would now gaze at these photos. Sometimes she reached out and touched a picture of her husband, and the faintest smile would cross her face. This wasn't just a decoration, it was about meeting her needs to feel connected to her own identity. We played classical music, the soundtrack of her life, quietly in her room, and during those times a sense of peace would settle over her that you could feel from across the room. None of these things cured her dementia, but they affirmed her personhood. They created tiny, precious moments of connection, comfort, and even joy. And the transformation wasn't just in Eleanor, it was also in me. I stopped dreading my shifts. I actually started looking forward to seeing her, to trying a new piece of music or sharing a new memory I'd learned from her family. My burnout was replaced with a purpose I hadn't felt for years. I was no longer just going through the motions. I was a partner in her care, a guardian of her dignity. I learned that what we call challenging behavior are almost always just a person trying to communicate an unmet need. By looking at Henderson's 14 needs through the compassionate lens of person-centered care, we can figure out what they're trying to say and respond with empathy, not just efficiency. This isn't just some secret for nurses only. You can start using this philosophy right now, whether you are a professional or a family caregiver at home. First, grab a piece of paper and jot down a few of Virginia Henderson's needs. Don't get overwhelmed by all 14. Just start with the basics. Eat, drink, sleep, rest, move, communicate, play, recreation, and accomplishment. Now, next to each other, think about the person you care for. Are these needs really being met, or are we just checking off tasks on a list? Is mealtime just about getting calories in, or could it be an opportunity for pleasure and comfort? Second, become a life detective. Make a simple photo album or a board. Fill it with notes and pictures about their life before illness. What was their job? What did they love to do? What music lit them up? Who were the most important people in their life? This becomes your personal instructional manual for the person you care for. Third, start reframing behaviors. The next time you see resistance, agitation, or frustration, stop and ask yourself, what unmet need could this be? Is it pain? Is it fear? Is it boredom? Is it loneliness? Instead of just reacting to the behavior, try to solve the underlying need. This simple shift changes you from an adversary into a compassionate problem solver. This is a journey of 1,000 small steps, but it starts with this one shift in how you see things. And I would love to hear about your journey. In the comments below, share one thing, just one thing you know about the personhood of the individual you care for. And for all you nurses out there, remember not sharing personal information. I just have to say it because someone did it and I have to go in and remove a otherwise good comment, because we have to respect the integrity of the persons we care about. So let's return to where we started, because this forgotten trick isn't a trick at all. It's the heart of nursing and the soul of caregiving. It's the radical act of insisting on seeing the whole person even when a disease tries to hide them. It's remembering that every human being, right up to their last breath, has basic needs for comfort, identity, purpose, and love. For Eleanor, this approach didn't reverse her dementia, but it did transform her final years from a time of agitation and isolation into a time of calm, connection, and dignity. And it transformed me by reminding me that even when we face the most difficult diagnosis, our greatest tool is our ability to see and honor the humanity in each other. It reminds me that there's always a way to connect, always a way to care. And if you want to get smarter on dementia and dementia care, then check out this playlist we have right here, where I have translated the complexities of dementia into a understandable language. So check it out, and I'm looking forward to seeing you right over there.